Hello, welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of E3 2016. I just knocked back a hot double espresso. Feeling good. Want to talk about more video games. Very happy to be joined by Brent Disbrow with Dawn of War 3. Alexa Ray Correa as well.
Hey, man.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Brent, how's your E3 been so far?
It's been fantastic. We've had the chance to show off the gameplay that we sort of we got people excited about the return of Dawn of War 3 with that story trailer several weeks ago, and now we're actually showing off gameplay, and that's really exciting. People are very happy so far.
Yeah, it's been a while, like 6-7 years at this stage. Since
7 years since Dawn of War 2, but we had the expansion pack, so it softens the blow a bit.
Yeah. Time flies. I guess when you are still releasing video games. So I guess you kind of shifted up the rules a bit on the second game. What are you doing with Dawn of War 3? Is it more Dawn of War 1 or DOW 2?
You know what? We when we started it, we sort of took a look at our past, right? And we had a lot of success with Dawn of War 1 with the sort of large scale of battle and base building. And with Dawn of War 2, we sort of went in a different direction and had a lot of success with the heroes. And what we found was they kind of appealed to slightly different audiences. So when we were talking of Dawn of War 3 and what we could do, we thought, you know what, spectacular battles, spectacular large-scale battles, they're a lot of fun, and we want to return to that. But we also wanted the heroes, so we sort of took those two elements and put them together. We're adding new mechanics as well to kind of gel it all better, but yeah, that's the kind of direction we're heading. Large-scale battles with elite heroes that are very clear for players to understand and devastate with.
Yeah, because it's almost like two completely different ways of appreciating a game. Like, big battles are cool and all, and they're interesting, but you don't really have that much agency in the sort of the moment-to-moment action that's happening there.
Absolutely, and that was a role that we felt that the heroes, the elites, is what we call them, they could fulfill that role excellently.
Yeah,
like they just come in. They've got they're the agent of change, if you will. You know, they have these special abilities, and when you see them in action, you can see how they can make a real damage difference, if you will, on the field of battle.
Yeah, they're able to sort of individually change the course of a battle in a way that, like,
absolutely,
you know, sort of top-up strategy can, but it's very different. I guess, like, that's you're kind of trying to have your cake and eat it then this time, because it's you've got two different disparate audiences. How do you gel those two things together so that they actually work in tandem and they're not just like contradicting each other?
Lots of luck. No, no, we're spending a lot of time, trying to make sure that the two sides, we still have line units. That's sort of the bulk of your army, and they have a very critical role to play in supporting the elites. So the elites are kind of, the superstars, if you will, right? But in order for those superstars to perform, just like any of the football on the UEFA that we've been watching all week, right? You need that team to support the superstars, and we're having what we're doing is making sure that the roles for the line units really play into the elites. In the clips that we'll see, there's an Imperial Knight, which is the largest unit we've ever built for the battle. She's fantastic, awesome at ranged, but she's very weak to melee.
Right.
So if somebody runs up to her, they can really ruin her. The line units are going to be the ones that keep them away. Right. So here we see some a battle clip. We've got Lady Solaria blasting away with her two Gatling guns. We've got tactical marines with flamethrowers.
This looks beautiful.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun working on it, and our graphics teams, our rendering programmers are phenomenal. Our artists are incredible. They've been absolutely knocking it out in terms of. One of the things we really wanted to make sure we delivered on was, large-scale battle, but clarity within that battle, so you could understand what was happening moment to moment. And so we've been really focusing on delivering that clarity in a variety of ways: scale of units, the visual effects, lots of feedback loops. So when you press a button, you see something, you see a tell, they're about to do something. You see the something, you have a great payoff, and like you can see it. Lady Solaria there just did her Gatling barrage, which she takes her two Gatling gun arms and does sort of this crossfire with them, which just wrecks anything in front of her. So she's really exciting to play with. We've got assault marines jumping in to cover. We've got a new version of cover for the game. We thought that in sort of service of that clarity of gameplay, we thought, and the size of the battles, we thought hiding behind logs and sandbags probably wasn't going to cut it.
So it breaks apart now, right?
Yeah. So what we have is this concept of heavy cover, and there's, when you go into it, you take control of it, the dome appears, and then you're safe. You think you're safe forever, but you're not, right? It's got its own health, and if it gets destroyed, it's gone forever. melee units can also run in. And,
Right, okay.
Yeah, so you think you're safe with the range units in there. It's like a temporary emplacement, but it can be very temporary if the melee units run in.
Alexa, what do you think when you see this? Because I know you've played a bunch of these types of strategy games in the past, but the Dawn of War franchise is a bit of a blind spot for you, right?
Yeah, so a little embarrassed. I've never played a Warhammer game, but I am. So I've watched this footage and I'm really, really interested in Dawn of War. So for someone like me who has a lot of strategy experience, I love Fire Emblem, I love XCOM. Can I play this? Can I just jump right in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
What we're seeing here in this footage is something that's happening much later in the campaign.
Right.
And you look at it and be like, oh my god, I can't do this. No, stay away, right? But what we want to do over the course of the game is build up that complexity. The first third of the campaign is all about layering that complexity on. So introducing the new mechanics, giving you lots of time to exercise with them and get used to them, and then adding more, and then adding more. And so by the time you get to this, controlling this kind of army and this kind of conflict, it's old hat. You'd have no problem doing it.
So for other players like me who maybe haven't been involved in this franchise before, is this a good place for them to start?
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of our big goals, and we wanted to do it from a variety of ways. One is ease of entry into the gameplay. Another is we've got a campaign that tells three factions stories. So we've got the Space Marines, the Orcs, and the Eldar. Each one of them has sort of a representative who's the voice, the perspective of the race. So Gabriel Angelo's, he's the chapter master of the Space Marines. He's a character we've had in the Dawn of War series for quite a while, and he's making a big return. He's going to be the perspective of the Space Marines. The Orcs and Eldar each have their own, and as we go through the campaign, we're going to weave their stories together. So instead of having three separate campaigns, we have one interwoven campaign. First mission, Space Marine. Next mission is Orcs. Next mission is Eldar. And so you do something in the first mission that you might see paid off in the second and have another perspective on it in the third. So we want to have sort of mini arcs of kind of this really cool, like, everybody's the hero of their own story, right? And the Warhammer 40k universe is very grimdark. It's very gray. There's lots of, the Space Marines, you think nominally they're the good guys. But the Emperor, who they all serve, he sacrifices 1,000 citizens a day to stay alive.
Right.
So that seems it's unnecessary.
Yeah, well, I guess he really wants to stay alive.
I like the idea of you don't have to wait like 2 years for the next expansion pack or 4 years for the next expansion pack to see the other side of the battle. Yeah. That's a very interesting, unique way of doing it. We've got a bunch of questions coming in from the chat as well. I just want to get one of them in here quick. Bavoke asking, can you say how many battles, how big the battles can be? How many squads, units are we talking about?
Ooh.
Well, no. I think this footage, well, not this particular footage, but the sort of stuff you'll see in these rolls, in the B rolls, is reflective of the kind of scale of conflict. We've got a full E3 demo playthrough that we're going to be releasing on YouTube and Twitch on June 24th.
Right.
Nice.
So players can see that and sort of say, okay, I can see the whole mission. And that'll give them a good sense of where we're going with the scale of battles. They're pretty good. I've had quite a few units on screen, plus my elites, and felt like I could control them all.
Right.
So.
It's always interesting. I mean, the Warhammer franchise has like this massive, like built-in audience, obviously, but obviously fans of this series as well. Do you find that the sort of your audience for this game, do they go from real-time strategy game to real-time strategy game? Is that kind of who you're talking to, or are these people who are like your specific brand of RTS and kind of like sticking with it?
I think it hits a variety of places. I think both of those cases that you talked about are some of the people we're targeting and fans that we've had in the past. We found with our fan base, there's a very passionate fan base. They like the games a lot. They've stuck with us for a long time. And part of that is because, Relic makes really good RTS games in the Dawn of War universe. But we also do a lot of support stuff. So our fans are really important to us. So like earlier this year, we released the Necron Overlord for the Last Stand mode, right? So, this is a game that's like seven years old, right? And we're still releasing content for it. Our fans are really important to us. And hopefully, with this game, we'll appeal to those people who are hopping between RTSs, that are new to RTSs, and maybe we'll get some converts as well, from people who haven't been, who don't hop and have been loyal to other brands. Maybe we'll get some of those guys, folks as well.
Yep, I'm I love the animations. It looks really awesome.
Yeah, the lighting is during the battle.
Perfect.
It actually, because like there are RTSs with bigger battles happening, I'm sure, but there's something about the sort of the amount of action that's happening all over the screen that makes it feel like, you know what, there's probably enough happening here right now that it's all good.
Well, that was a big thing for us. When we were starting to develop the game, we looked at obviously other titles, and a big thing for strategy games, we looked at MOBAs.
Right.
Oh,
And
boy.
we said, well, geez, what kind of things could we learn from MOBAs that we could maybe apply to our kind of game? And the biggest thing we took was clarity of gameplay.
Right.
So being able to tell moment to moment what your hero is doing in a MOBA is critical. The tells, the actions, the results. We wanted to capture all that and bring as much of it as we could to our game. And that was a big informing element for our art style. It was like making sure there was a clarity of gameplay at all times. You can see some of that here. The las cannons, the Devastators are firing their las cannons at the Wraith Guards. You can see the beams are growing more intense the longer they're on. So they start off as a small yellow beam. They amp up to green the longer they go, and they do more damage over time. But it's tough for them to do that because the other guys usually are firing back. These guys are just,
That's quite the Mexican standoff that's happening there.
I know.
Yeah.
Over a flaming gulch as well.
These are dreadnoughts. You may have seen them in Dawn of War 1, right? They're a unit we've had in pretty much all of our Dawn of Wars for the Space Marines. They used to be the big Mamba Jambas on the battlefield. Compared to Solaria and the Imperial Knight, not so much anymore. But
Tiny
they're a
tots.
wonderful line unit that just wreak havoc in melee combat. They have flamethrowers on their arms. They can do these ground pounds. Hopefully we'll see some of that here. There's some flamethrowers. They have this fun charge into action. And there was a ground pound. It just splashes everybody around them. So they're a critical line unit.
Have you shown off any other new units sort of in that sort of scale around there? We've seen obviously the bigger units as well.
Well, you know what? When we talk, we got the line units that are all around this thing, around this scale, and then we've got the elites, right? And so we've got, hopefully we'll see some footage of that. Gabriel Angelo, for example, is an elite, bigger than your average tactical marine. He's got a giant demon smashing hammer, and he's got some really cool abilities that allow him to turn the tide of battle, like jump across chasms, smash on the landing, or create, one of his abilities is retribution, and it forms an energy dome around him that does a tremendous amount of damage, but also reflects fire. So anybody firing at him, suddenly they're eating their own bullets. Or if you time it right, you can bounce a grenade back at the at the thrower, which is awesome.
Excellent. That's the type of like sort of micro you can't really do if you're looking at this massive battle.
That's right.
Are you guys talking about multiplayer at all? I mean, that's such a huge element of these games, and especially the longevity of them as well.
We love multiplayer, absolutely. And the multiplayer we're playing at the office right now is a blast. We're having a lot of fun, iterating on that, making sure it's as tight as we can.
Finding the exploits, using them against your coworkers, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like our opponents are hopefully our victims, but sadly, I'm usually the victim. I'm the campaign lead, so I'm like, the multiplayer designers all have the edge.
Yeah, you're the soft touch in the office.
That's
probably.
right,
You and the artists are probably getting.
I don't take any more cash bets. What you saw here, this is really cool. The faction mechanic for the Marines is the drop pods. It's called Death from Above. And players, we've had them in the past. They would do a general area buff.
Yeah.
But now players can choose what units come down in them.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So in this case, that middle one had a dreadnought in it. Right. You can. It's a real tide changer.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you're like, I think I'm being rocked a bit. Drop some drop pods on your opponents, and actually on them does knockback.
Yeah, we saw it there. Just happened on the right.
It's good times.
That's excellent. Is there any other features that people have been asking for? I mean, a very passionate fan base, as we've said before. Do you think the audience is they've wanted this? Because you said like you're getting pulled in obviously two sort of different directions with it. What's the reception been like so far from the Dawn of War faithful?
The reception's been great. Yeah, it's been really good. Yeah, we sort of you could characterize it as sort of we went in different directions.
Yeah.
But really, what we're trying to do is evolve it. Right, so we had the large-scale battles, cool, traditional RTS, and then we went to sort of a squad, much more personal scale, if you will. And now we're bringing that lens back out, but we're bringing all of the things that we're doing are kind of fit very well within the Dawn of War universe, and the Warhammer 40K is all about endless war.
Yeah.
Right.
Infinite war.
Yeah, infinite war. That's right. That's right. Infinite, endless.
Real.
Here we go. So these guys are assault
that was
terminators.
cool.
Yeah, they're a very heavy melee elite. And what they can do is they can teleport. So if the enemy thinks they're safe in their heavy cover, these guys can teleport into
Get
that
inside,
cover
yeah.
Nice.
and really wreck them from within.
Beat 'em up melee style. When are we looking at seeing more of Dawn of War 3? When will you guys be talking about multiplayer? When are you looking to release?
Well, we're looking to release on PC in 2017.
Okay.
Over the rest of the year, we'll be revealing more about the other races and their gameplay styles. You know, we're really excited. Like, the Space Marines have a very distinctive gameplay style.
Yeah.
Right. They field the fewest units on the field of battle, but they're also some of the strongest. Right. We call them sort of the tip of the spear. With the Eldar, they're much faster moving, but more fragile. So they're kind of all about, we call them the sword wind, hit and run tactics. And the Orcs are the Baniac Horde. You know, they have the most units on the battlefield. So it's really exciting. So we're excited to show those things off over the rest of the year.
That's good stuff. It must be a big undertaking to, like, because you supported Dawn of War 2 for so long, and obviously with expansion packs and everything else. What does it feel like sort of starting this one and being like, okay, we're going to get a game out, I'm going to be working on this for a good, like, 5 years. Is it a good feeling? Is it nice to sort of, like, shake off the previous game and get into something new?
Well, yeah, you know, it's anytime you work in a game and you get the chance to make the next version of it, all those ideas you couldn't do on the previous one, they're all brimming, right? They're all ready to go. And our Blue Sky brainstorming sessions were ridiculously fun, right? There were so many ideas being tossed out because the team's really passionate about the game. They've got a lot of history with the game. You know, on this version of it, we've been working on it for about 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously there was some stuff done prior to Sega acquiring Relic. But, you know, with Sega as a partner, they've been great. They've been giving us a lot of support and advice. And they've allowed us to really focus on making, you know, hopefully the best Dawn of War that we can. So
excellent.
That's our goal. Yeah.
Lovely. Brent Disbrow, lead campaign lead.
Campaign
Even better. On Dawn of War 3. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very
Enjoy
much.
the rest of your electronic triple.
Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers.
It's awesome.
Thanks for all the questions that came in, folks, as well. We'll be back in a second. All you RTS fans, stick around. Halo Wars 2 is coming on. We should get you guys to, like, have
a fight.
Yeah, you both came out around like 2009 as
fight.
well. With the previous versions, it's like, yeah.
Before too.
Yeah. We'll be back in just a second, folks. Stay there.
You're watching the GameSpot stage, brought to you by Airheads Bytes.